This girl was imprisoned by a pervert for 13 years. After running away, she was unable to integrate into society. When she was 13 years old, Lily was kidnapped and imprisoned by a strange man. She finally escaped after 13 years, with half of the handcuffs in her hand. After all, what happened in these 13 years? The police had taken samples for examination. There were many scars on her body. After DNA test, the police confirmed that Lily was the one who disappeared 13 years ago. However, Lily was a bit opposed and wanted to refuse the police investigation. She was haunted by the memory of the scenes in which she was imprisoned for a long time. She was so scared. Lily's parents already knew she was back. Her parents were about to get divorced, but they also had to pretend to live together. Their purpose was for Lily to feel the warmth of family. However, after so many years of being kidnapped, Lily looked at her mother with a hazy eye, as if the person in front of her was a stranger. There were many changes happening in this city. For example, the appearance of a smartphone that she had never seen before. Even the boy she liked when she was young, she couldn't recognize him anymore. After returning home, nothing had changed. However, it didn't seem to be the same as when she was a child. Even her younger sister couldn't believe that. Was this cold girl her older sister? The police wanted to catch the culprit as soon as possible. So they kept asking Lily, is that guy tall or short, fat or thin? Although they asked a lot, Lily showed an annoyed attitude and didn't want to answer. It seemed that she didn't want to reveal any information about the criminal. This made the policewoman very angry. She even wondered if there was a special relationship between Lily and the kidnapper. Then she frankly asked Lily, didn't you have a chance to escape in those 13 years? At that time, there was also another girl suddenly disappearing. This incident had attracted media attention. Therefore, the police came to Lily again, because only she could give clues at this time. However, this frightened Lily, so she quickly ran out of the house. Where could she go? It turned out that she came to find her first love who she had liked since childhood. When remembering the past, it was a really beautiful time, and there was no worry at all. But when Lily thought of the 13 years she was imprisoned, at this moment, she was so scared. Knowing Lily's escape, the female police officer had begun to suspect again. Was the kidnapping incident performed by Lily herself? At this time, her colleague called. They found the place where Lily was once imprisoned. A girl was kidnapped and imprisoned for 13 years. But after returning home, she ran away again. After all, what was her relationship with that kidnapper? Finally, the police found out the place of detention. However, there was no one in that room anymore. They only saw a board full of nails, a handcuff, and a cloth doll hanging from the bed. However, the police were surprised to find out. On the wall, there were many intimate photos of Lily and the kidnapper. Was there a love relationship between them? Meanwhile, Lily didn't know where to go. She had to return to the house. After that, the police took Lily to the station to continue the investigation. The image had been displayed from the monitoring machine. The person who kidnapped that girl was the same person who kidnapped Lily. This person was an employee who worked at her school named Kurikawa Kazuki. So why did this man kidnap two girls? And at this time, Lily was the most important clue. However, the police found many ways. Lily still didn't say anything. That day was Lily's birthday. Her mother made a big cake for her. At this time, her younger sister intentionally turned on the TV. The news of the missing girl was broadcasting. Hearing that, Lily was extremely scared. When entering the room, she looked at the pictures of her when she was young. At that time, her first love celebrated her birthday. And they had a good time together. But after being kidnapped, she could only eat cake while being tied up on a chair. Later, the police discovered that Kazuki's mother had Alzheimer's syndrome. And she always lived in a nursing home. When they showed Kazuki's picture to her, she was just indifferent and ignored. But when the police accidentally moved another picture, she immediately cheered up and said that the person in this picture was her son. This boy was Kazuki's younger brother named Yuki. Maybe he was also locked in the same room as Lily. The police quickly came to find Lily again. They took her to the place where she was locked up and asked her about Yuki. However, Lily was so scared that she couldn't say anything. After that, the police discovered a human skeleton. It was Yuki's. Meanwhile, the kidnapper sent an email to Lily's house. The content of the email was, Lily, don't worry, I just love you. The police also found surveillance video from 3 years ago. That video was shown that Lily and Kazuki were together. And the surprising thing was that, although Lily had a chance to escape and called for help, she didn't do that. All of this showed that Lily was probably lying. The policewoman mocked her, "Are you already in love with Kazuki?" This made Lily extremely angry. Meanwhile, the weapon that killed Yuki was found in the room where Lily was imprisoned. However, there were her fingerprints and blood stains on the weapon. Because of this, From the victim, she turned into a murderer. The girl was kidnapped for 13 years, but ended up becoming a murderer. In order for Lily to tell the truth, her mother went to the police station. First, her mother said sorry to her. She shouldn't have an intimate relationship with her teacher. It turned out that day, Lily went to convince the teacher to break up with her mother. Therefore, the kidnapper took advantage of the opportunity to kidnap her. Her mother expressed her feelings in tears. Lily's defensive wall was finally slowly descended. She said Yuki was the person who treated her most gently in the world. Whenever Kazuki wasn't at home, Yuki would watch over her. After that, they would play games together. While she was sleeping, he covered her with a blanket. One day, when Yuki helped Lily pick flowers, she thought this was her chance to escape. But unexpectedly, she was seen by Kazuki. Seeing Yuki trying to protect her, he angrily threw stones at Yuki. That day was also her birthday. So Kazuki took her to the mall. Kazuki said, if you run away, Yuki will definitely die. Therefore, she could only obediently listen to him. But after going home, because of not being treated in time, Yuki's breathing was very weak. After that, Kazuki gave her a hammer. He threatened and forced her to kill Yuki. If not, she would definitely die. While she was hesitating, Yuki actively took the hammer to commit suicide. Also because of this incident, Lily was especially obsessed with birthdays. At that moment, Kazuki called the police station. Give Lily back to me. He would release the other girl if the police gave Lily to him. Lily finally agreed. She decided to give herself in exchange for the kidnapped girl. After that, the police equipped her with a locator. However, he hadn't arrived yet. Suddenly, Lily remembered the location where her pictures were taken with him. Unexpectedly, he and the kidnapped girl were there. After a while, the kidnapped girl came out from the elevator. Meanwhile, Lily had disappeared. Because in order to save Lily, the girl became the most important point. However, she was the same as Lily. Because she was too scared, she didn't dare to say anything. Meanwhile, Lily was tied up, her hands were tied tightly to the chair. Kazuki hugged her from behind and said, I miss you so much. She replied, I miss you too. Now I realize that you are the best person in the world. Hearing that, Kazuki was overjoyed and helped her untie the rope. The two of them hugged each other. When he had no precaution, Lily quickly grabbed the gun. She pointed the gun at him and wanted to shoot him dead. But unexpectedly, it was just a toy gun. Because of her betrayal, Kazuki was furious and knocked her unconscious. Meanwhile, the kidnapped girl also pointed out an important clue. She drew a picture of a building where the detention place could be seen. After waking up, Lily found her tied up on the bed. At this time, Kazuki gently apologized to her. It turned out that he never received the love of his family. Lily was the first person to treat him with such tenderness and warmth. Therefore, he wanted to make her his own. And at this moment, he also wanted to end it all. After that, he lit a brazier in the room. He decided to die with her. Before dying, Lily wanted him to set her free. She tricked him into opening the handcuffs for her. After that, she even bit him. And she tried her best to unlock the door. Furthermore, Lily hit him with a chair. Because of inhaling so much coal gas, Kazuki didn't have any strength. Outside, Lily tried her best to block the door. Until there was no more sound in the room. Fortunately, she successfully escaped. This movie was a remake of the American movie called 13th. A girl was locked up for 13 years and after she got out, she had to suffer from social derision. She also had to see her family break up as well as leave her first love. All these had created different personality types for her. The movie comes here. See you on the next movies.